Hello, everyone, and welcome to Executive Encore, the podcast where we explore the exciting opportunities that are awaiting women executives and entrepreneurs who are remastering their lives and work after the age of 40, 50, 60, and beyond. I'm your host, Patricia Muir. Today, we are reaching out to some of you who might be aspiring authors. If this is you, we have an inspiring episode for you about unlocking your story and writing the book you always wanted to write and to have an impact on your executive encore. My guest today is the incredible Helen Wilkie. Helen spent 2 decades in the Canadian corporate world before transitioning into professional speaking. In case you don't know, I'm Canadian as well, but we have a surprise for you. Helen is the author of the book that saved a legacy. Now, Helen dedicates her expertise to guiding executives and professionals in writing their books. Helen's unique story doesn't stop there, and here's the surprise. She made a bold life choice in 2018 by moving from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to Buenos Aires, Argentina. She's here to share her thoughts on writing, life transitions, and why it's never too late to pursue your dreams, even a big move. Helen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patricia. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm delighted to have you here. This is going to be a fun video and podcast. Helen, it's fascinating to me that, and maybe a little heartbreaking, that nearly 80% of people believe they have a book inside them. I've heard it, and I heard it from you as well. Yet so few of those books actually get written. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there are many reasons. There are some reasons that are not usually stated, but the ones that I hear most are, and especially from people who are executives or business people or professionals, the top one is, I have no time. I want to write my book. I have no time to write my book. I have a busy job. I have all these things happening. So that's one thing. And yes, people are busy, and fitting in writing a book isn't always easy. But if you want it enough, there are ways of doing it, and I can help people with that. So not enough time is one of the top ones. Another one that I hear is, I don't know where to start. Most of the people who are watching your show are executives. And so they do write. They write all the time in the course of their business. They write memos, they write emails, they write all kinds of things, but they don't write books. And writing a book is a different thing. It has to be planned in a different way. It has to be written in a different way. And so they really don't know where to start. And that's one of the things that I do. In my business, I do both book coaching for people who want to do the writing themselves, but they don't know where to start or how to continue. And also for those who really actually don't have the time, or for whatever reason don't want to do the actual writing themselves. I am a ghostwriter. So I interview the people and pull the information out of them and then write the book for them. So those are a couple of the most important or the most common ones that people say. But I will tell you that I think one of the huge reasons that people don't write their books, and they don't tell you this, is that they're scared.
What are they scared of?
They're scared of putting themselves out there. They're scared of possibly going against the grain. They're scared of flying in a different direction from other people in their industry. And they're scared of what people might think. And so nobody usually comes out and says, I'm scared. But in the conversation, I can tell that there's an element of that. And as you say, it is sad that there are so many people who feel they have a book in them, but it never comes out. And that's one of the reasons I do the work that I do, because I like to help bring it out.
Because you said when we spoke before, you said, here's the thing, the world needs your story. So can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, well, one of the reasons that podcasts like yours are so popular is people come on and tell their stories, and we as human beings love stories.
Yeah.
And so we do, we're wired to love stories. And so we like to listen to people tell their stories, but you don't always have an opportunity to be on a podcast or a television program or anything else, but you can still write a book And so you can get your story out into the world. And
Mm.
we have the wherewithal now to self-publish our books, and we can get them out into the world without waiting for, the traditional publishing contract and all those things, which are kind of old school now.
And they're scary. They're scary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I
So
mean, it's,
I imagine that's where you alleviate the fear, because you have done this before and you do it with other people, other authors. So it's very easy for you to lead the person to feel more comfortable and be more successful in however they publish, right?
exactly, exactly. And
Mhm.
I do know a fair amount about traditional publishing as opposed to what we call indie publishing, which is
Mhm.
short for independent. I know about both worlds, and so I can very often help people when they first meet with me in deciding which way to go. And frankly, I would say 99% of the time, the people that I talk to, I say, start indie, start independent and go that way. Because if you want to go the traditional route, you basically can't do it on your own. You've got to have an agent. And so you've got to find an agent and persuade them to take on your book. And then they have to persuade publishers to take on your book. It's a very long process, and it's
Mhm.
harder than it ever has been before.
Is
So
that?
the balance, yes, it is, but balance that with how much easier it is to go indie and still get your book out. Now, I will say this, well, if you are going to go indie, you can in fact do the whole thing yourself. You can write the book, you can edit it, there's software in it, you can get it up onto Amazon and all those things. But I recommend that you don't do that. There are many professionals out there who can help you get the book done. And this is one of the things that I talk to people about when they say, I don't know where to start. How would I get it published? Because as a book coach or a ghostwriter, my main concern is to get them to the end of the draft so that it's ready to go into the production process. But then I encourage them to work with professional editors. Yes, 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 please have your book edited professionally and to have it professionally designed. You can go onto Amazon, you can scroll through and you can see the books that are hand knitted. You
Can
can
you?
yeah, people that have done it themselves and really, and unless you're a graphic designer, please don't design your own book.
Yeah, yeah. That's such powerful insight. And I love what you said about all those things about don't knit it yourself, okay? But the world really needs your story. And if it's going to be put out there, you want it to be, I guess you'd say, polished and attractive to other people. So anyone who's listening, if this is a time for you to write the book, ask yourself what's holding you back. It could just be a matter of getting the good guidance from someone like Helen.
Mhm.
Okay. So, as Helen has quoted, your story is worth telling. The moments, actually, this is Helen's quote, the moments that define your life and career can inspire others. That's another reason why it's important to get your story out there. It can
It is,
spark.
and especially at this time of their careers and their lives when they're going into their executive encore.
Mhm.
Your book can be the inspiration and the
Oh,
roadmap for
yeah.
those coming next. And it's also, if you're going to write a book that is about your career, or if you've had a successful career, whether you've had your own company or you've worked in other companies as an executive, that what you've left behind, the difference that you've made is your legacy. And for me, you write the book to safeguard your legacy. The book is not the legacy. What you built is the legacy. But the book will make sure that the story's told right.
Wow.
You
Wow.
tell the story. You know what happened because you were there. And so if you don't tell the story, if you don't, that's what my little book, the book that saved a legacy is about. What do you call this? Like a fairy story, fable. It's a business fable about a guy who never gets around to writing his own book. And so his story gets hijacked. And this can happen. It can be hijacked by, not by other people necessarily, but by circumstances. So write the book yourself and make sure the story gets told right.
I have never thought about it that way. That is so enlightening. Thank you very much for that. So, writing a book is one of the most powerful ways to leave your mark on the world, right? And
Yeah,
told in your voice, which I think
yeah,
is so important.
very
Mhm.
important. Yeah.
Lots to think about there. So, Helen, you've worked with many executives, and I know you believe that writing books is the perfect option and activity for them in their executive encore. Can you share your thoughts on why it is such a great next chapter of life? And we use chapter of life, chapter of book. Why is it such a great next chapter of life?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Um, and let's go first of all with talking about those. And I've watched many episodes of your podcast, by the way, because I really love it. And you were
Thank
talking,
you.
I think you've talked to a couple of people who have said the problem is people don't plan for retirement. And I remember you one time said people wake up the day after the retirement party and think, well, what am I going to do
What
now?
am I going to do next? Yeah.
Yeah. So a book can be the thing because one,
Yeah.
as I say, the top reason that executives give for not writing their book is that they haven't got time. Now, I'm not going to say that now you've retired, you have time, because we all know that that's not necessarily the case, but it's a different kind of busy that you are. And a book is a perfect project to take on because it's big. It's a big project. Even if you have a book coach or a ghostwriter, you still have to put a lot of your own effort and energy into it. And so it's a major project and it's exciting. So it's something that can pick up those people who are saying, what can I do? Well, maybe let me think about a book. And if they've never thought about it and not sure what to write about, then, talk to somebody like me and get some ideas as to what you might do.
Hmm.
The other reason why I think it's perfect for Executive Encore is that many executives, when they do take official retirement from their jobs, they go into other types of jobs, I'll say, other types of careers. Two of them are professional speaking and consulting. Both of those can benefit from having a book that you've written on your area of expertise because it builds your credibility, it creates your credibility.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be a professional speaker, you have to have something to talk about. And, having this book to show to people who book speakers, they read it and they say, yeah, this person knows what they're talking about. So let me explore this further. So a positioning tool can be when you are still in the throes of your career, especially if it's your own business, to help you bring in business. But when you are starting your new phase of life and you're thinking about taking it down the direction of speaking or consulting, a book is a fantastic weapon for your arsenal.
Hmm. Yeah, it's you become a thought leader through your own story,
Yes,
correct?
you do. You
Yeah,
do.
that's a great point. It's a reinvention in a way.
Mhm.
It allows you to connect with different audiences in different ways because writing a book is for some people who love to read. Other people like to see it on stage. They like presentations. So it expands your way of communicating and to continue communicating in your executive encore because sometimes people say that they're very busy, but what are they busy doing? It's usually chores. They say, I don't
Yes,
know how I got so much done when I was working, but it's not a good um, expanding way in your life. It's more of like retracting to just doing chores and getting those done. I don't want
exactly.
to be living a life like that. That's
No,
for sure.
no.
Yeah. And it's sharing unique insights and your background and things like that, that people, like you say, the story is important. That's so true.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
like your book becomes a bridge between your past accomplishments and your future endeavors, right?
Yes.
So, for those executives listening, this could be your encore. Think about that. You won't have to wake up the next morning and start writing, but you can start thinking about it, doing a couple of notes while you're sitting in the coffee shop, maybe, but
Yeah.
it could be your encore. Okay, so Helen, you made a big move in 2018. After years in Toronto, Canada, you packed up your life and you started over in Buenos Aires, a completely different culture,
Mhm.
language, and a pace of life. How
Yes.
did you come to that decision to do that? And what advice would you share with those who are listening, considering such a huge, major life change?
Well, I first of all, I didn't do it on a whim. I didn't just up and move to Argentina. I
Okay.
really, as I said to you when we were talking before, most people don't know much about Argentina. It's one of those countries. And first of all, I'm a widow. I should tell you that. And it was after maybe 6 years or so after my husband died, and I was starting to kind of explore possibilities. And I was at a conference and I was speaking to two women at breakfast, and they had both independently just come back from Buenos Aires. One, I had known her for years and I didn't know her husband was Argentine. And the other had been on a business trip with her husband. And the more they talked about it, the more I thought, wow, that sounds really good. I'd love to go. So I went back to Toronto after this conference, and I didn't even ask anybody to go with me. I just went online and I booked a flight and I booked a hotel and I went. And it was a holiday. It was just a 2 week vacation. But Patricia, as soon as I stepped off the plane, I knew this was my place. This was a special place for me. It wasn't just another place to go on holiday. And I went on vacation 2 more times. And then after that, I thought, okay, I don't just want a vacation, I need longer. So I'll go for 3 months and I'll work while I'm there, which I could. Writing is that's another thing for the Encore,
Mm-hmm.
something you can do anywhere.
Yeah.
So I came for 3 months, and by the end of the 3 months, I did not want to go back to Canada. I really wanted to stay, but I did. I went back to Canada and I did 6 months in Toronto and 6 months in Buenos Aires for 3 years, I think. And
Wow.
then after that, I had a conversation with somebody and I just thought, this is silly. This is where I want to be. I don't want to have to leave and go back every 6 months. So
Mm-hmm.
I just made up my mind and I just did it. And that was in the May of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I came here. I always came in November because that's the beginning of summer here. And so this time I was going in November, but I was going to stay. So I had to do all that preparation in a fairly short time. And then I just got on the plane and I came, and I've never regretted it for a minute.
Wow. Wow. So, what would you say your biggest lesson was that you learned from such a big move?
Um, Well, I think it's what we were talking about before that, I mean, when I did this, it was at an age when most people are thinking about settling down or going back to the
Yeah.
home where they came from, or
Yes.
going, yeah. And I did it in the opposite direction. And I'm sure some people thought I was crazy, but I never stopped to wonder about that. And I'm still very much like that. If I want to do something, it never occurs to me to think I'm too old to do that. If I want to do it, I just do it. I plan it and I do it. And I think that for me is the lesson. You're never too old to do something exciting and new and even a little bit off the wall. You're
Mm-hmm.
never too old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I just want to make a point here. People that I speak to are going into their encore. They are thinking about like what activities and what environment they want to be in. And you're right. It's amazing how many people say, I want to go home from
Mhm.
wherever they were, right? Um, Now, that's a choice that you can make. But
Yes.
it's also, and if they go home, they more or less settle for a while, or even if it's up north in their cottage or something like that.
Yeah.
But your bold move that sort of really kicked up your life or continued um, your message to yourself that it's never too late to do any of these kinds
No.
of things. Rather than settle, you made a choice that really sort of expanded your life, and I think that's
Absolutely.
great for an encore.
It absolutely did. In fact, let me show you something. This is a big part of my life in Buenos Aires.
I know what you
Tango,
would say.
Argentine tango, huge part of my life. And I know I wouldn't have been doing anything like that if I hadn't moved down here. But
Yeah,
I came down. I actually didn't know anything about tango until I came here, and
yeah.
then I found out about it, and I thought, "Whoa, I'm going to try this." And now it's like 3 or 4 times a week I dance tango. So
Wow, great. I think
yeah,
I shared with you that someone that I met that was making a change for their life in their encore, and it was led by the fact that they wanted to dance the tango. They loved dancing the tango, and they said, "Where do I need to move to be able to do that on a regular basis. And it was Argentina.
It's
So
Argentina. Well, this is the home of tango. This is where it comes from. I mean, you can feel it, you can breathe it in the air
breathe
here.
it.
And I actually know quite a number of people who moved here to dance tango. I also know quite a number of people who come every year for several months to dance tango. Now, if you're going to do that, ideally you're in your encore because you don't have to worry about your vacation time. You know, you could
That's right. That's
that's
right.
another way of doing it. And that's another, I mean, this is, as I say, I didn't just fall into it. I came down here for large parts of the year and really got to know it. I knew what I was getting into when I came here. And I think that that's important.
Mm-hmm. And I learned that tango actually is like learning a new language or learning a new instrument that is actually recommended for people in their encore years because it keeps their mind stimulated, active, right?
Yeah,
And especially when you think about women, it's like tango, you're always dancing backwards, right? In
that's right.
heels, in
Yeah.
heels.
And heels, yes.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I know that you made a point about it is a big move, and some of the things that keep people from making a big move like that is they don't know how to prepare. And you have mentioned that preparation is key. What advice would you give to a woman who wants to make a big move like that, like to another country, so that she feels more comfortable about her move?
Well, it's about research. It really is about research. Now, in my case, as I said to you, the first time I came here was a whim because I had this conversation and I thought, I'll go. But I mean, no, that's just 2 weeks. You're not risking much in going someplace for a holiday. But
Mm.
because I fell in love with it as soon as I arrived and started to come more, then I started to read more about Argentina. I mean, I didn't call it research because I was just hungry for more information about
Yeah.
Argentina. But it was research. That's what it is. And I think it's important to read about the country that you're thinking of going. And if you don't have a specific country in mind, if you just would like to try something new, well, research that way. Go onto YouTube and say, you know, what is life for an expat in Portugal or Greece or wherever, and see
Mm.
what comes up and what appeals to you. And that can be the kicking off point for
Mhm.
your research. And then maybe you go on a vacation. It's always a good idea to dip your toe in the water and go for a vacation first.
Good.
But I mean,
Good.
I also know people that came to Argentina on vacation and never went home.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you also spoke about having a support system, right? So how did you find, how was it that you built your support systems when you left Canada?
After I came to Buenos Aires, well, I'm extraordinarily lucky with the support system that I have. I don't think of them as that way, but they are. But they're
Mm.
just my friends.
Yeah.
I Somebody told me about an organization which is basically just a social organization for expats. It's called, I'll give them a plug, it's called Buenos Aires International Newcomers. And they're not all newcomers and they're not all foreigners. There's actually quite a few Argentines belong to it. But a lot of my friends come from that environment. And we are incredibly supportive of one another. I had, over the last couple of years, I had an experience where I fell and broke my ankle and had complications and ended up in a wheelchair for 3 months. And
Oh,
I don't think my social life suffered at all because
really?
they rallied round bringing food. Their husbands came to wheel my chair down to where I was going. So, as soon as, and it's not just me, as soon as somebody needs help, this group kicks into action.
Is
It's
that
like a
right?
military operation, and everybody's there for everybody else. And
Mhm.
I don't know whether that's the same in other countries because I haven't lived any place. But after I left Scotland, I went to Canada, and then I came here. I mean, I had a support system in Canada, but it's not this. It wasn't the same as what I have here.
Yeah, you've got me thinking. It is a very different support system when you are working, especially say in corporate, okay,
Yes.
than it is when you are in another country and you're in your executive encore. So that's an important point to think about. building your support system or your network, I call it the network, in that place where you want to land, basically.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
that's such inspiring advice. Whether it's a book or an entirely new country you're going to move to start up a life again, it's clear that we can all remaster our life and work at any stage. Helen,
Absolutely.
before I wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yes, there's one thing I wanted to offer to your listeners. Two things actually. For those who are maybe interested who already had the idea of writing a book, or whether what I had to say has piqued their interest in writing a book, but they don't know where to start, I am happy to offer a 1 hour free consultation to help them maybe decide what book to write
Mm-hmm.
and how to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And then for those who are their interest is piqued by Argentina or by, um, just going to a new country, although I'm bonkers about Argentina. I'll talk about Argentina till you beg me to stop. But if people are interested in that, I'm happy to send them the PDF version of my book. Where is it? It's here. It's called Rare Steak, Red Wine, Hot Tango.
That's a
I,
great title. So there's
that,
an example of how having someone who knows about writing a book and getting good artwork and everything. That's a great example because that's a
right.
great title. Yeah, that's a great
Well, you
title.
can get it on Amazon, but if anybody would like, just send me an email, just send me an email, and in the subject line put um, moving to Argentina or writing my book, and I'll know what you want, and we'll take it from there in terms of setting up a Zoom call or sending you the PDF.
Helen, that's so generous of you. That's very valuable resources for people who are really inspired by your story. I want to thank you. It's been a lovely conversation we've had today. Just so listeners know that I will be putting in all the links and Helen's email, her website. Well, the website is in the ticker and her LinkedIn's there, but you'll have all those links in the show notes. Plus, they will also be in the blog. I will be featuring Helen in my blog at the end of this week, and then in the newsletter that comes out on Sunday morning. So, listeners, you can visit my website or connect with me on LinkedIn. I also offer discovery calls on Executive Encore that could really sort of build on the value that Helen has brought to us today. To everyone who's listening, if today's conversation sparks something in you, don't wait. Your encore could be closer than you think. I have some women who are 45 and they say, oh, well, that's, a ways away. You don't realize how quickly that time goes. You want to prepare for your encore. You don't want to sort of wake up the next morning and say, now what? Okay. But it's important that you dream big, take bold steps, and keep writing your story. Hopefully, it will be published one day, but keep writing your story anyway. And share this with a friend as well. We all know someone who could appreciate the encouragement to write her story or to make a big move. This video podcast is produced by Maestro Quality, my company, as part of the Executive Encore program and hosted by myself, Patricia Muir. Please subscribe to Executive Encore on YouTube and on Spotify and any other podcasts that you listen to. And add your comments on the channels because your voice matters as well. I know I'd be very happy if you put comments, and Helen would too, because we will get back to you. We'll chat with you. We'll expand on the story. Okay. So Helen will be featured in the newsletter on Sunday, March 23rd. When you subscribe to the newsletter, you will also receive VIP access to other resources available to subscribers. And again, all links are on the website and on the show notes. This is where your Executive Encore begins. So until next time, take care of yourself, do what's best for you, and don't jeopardize what you built for yourself. And we'll see you in the next episode of Executive Encore.
Thank you, Patricia. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.